I'd like to thank you for inviting me on the show. It's such an honour to be here, and I'd just like to say that when I'm not playing Xbox with my mate Thor, I really like to listen to my favourite podcast, Pop Culture Pasta. Hey Dave, I'm thinking about doing another revolution. Do you want to join up? I might need some help with organising the pamphlets though.
Pop Culture Pastor.
All right, Cody, I'm going to give you a little advice.
Someone needs to.
There's a force in the universe that makes things happen. And all you have to do is get in touch with it, stop thinking, let things happen, and be the ball. Be the ball, Cody. No. Da. A child of the 80s should recognize that quote.
Exactly.
That, of course, was Chevy Chase.
In Caddyshack.
Caddyshack, yeah, where he's talking to Danny Noonan.
Nobody worry about me.
Yeah, you can hear the logins.
Yes. Kenneth.
Via DJ. But yeah, we're here to talk about a documentary. This is Pop Culture Pastor, the podcast. My name is Dave. Cody's here.
I am present.
And because this is a documentary, we also have DJ Dangerfield, Minister DJ Dangerfield. Hi, DJ. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Can I just say off the top that this documentary threw me off?
Yeah, I didn't know how I was supposed to feel about it. But go ahead, get into that a little bit.
Well, there's a movie where Chevy Chase is in with Neil Carter. Do you remember the black woman?
Oh, Nell Carter.
Nell Carter, yeah. Modern Problems, I think that's the movie that he's in there with her.
Mm.
I was hoping that there'd be a reference to that movie.
There wasn't.
And I was so disappointed. This did not go where I thought it was going to go. So that's all I want to.
Yeah. The documentary we watched is called I'm Chevy Chase and You're Not. It's on Max or HBO Max or whatever it's called.
Whatever that's called, yeah.
But it's by CNN Films. It came out this year. And like DJ said, it's very interesting. It's a very interesting documentary that I was surprised that it kind of focused on the nuance of Chevy Chase as a person and as an actor, because Chevy Chase is one of the most naturally gifted comedians who have lived in our generation, and also one of the most universally disliked people in Hollywood.
See, I didn't realize that till you brought that up a few weeks ago. I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how much I was aware of it until this documentary, but this documentary makes it pretty clear that most people know him as a very challenging individual.
So SNL and the Community cast have made their feelings known publicly. And that's how I've known it throughout the years. And I'm like, but have you seen Spies Like Us or The Three Amigos?
Yeah.
This guy's great.
Yeah.
Well, and I thought what was most interesting about this documentary, and the reason I kind of liked it, was we're well versed on how people feel about him as far as the cast of Community. Like, the cast of Community have not held back. They don't like him. They hate him. Even Saturday Night Live, some of them have made their stance on him pretty clear. And so the easy fallback place would be to be like, oh, Chevy Chase is an awful person. But what I loved about this documentary is that it's an authorized documentary. He's cooperating fully, but it's also unfiltered. And I thought the documentary does a good job of like, hey, I'm not going to try and make you go a certain direction with him. I'm just going to present him and then present his past and everything that goes into making him, and then like just leave it there. You make the decision on trying to figure this guy out. So she does a good job of making him uncomfortable several times in the interview process that she did with him. She calls him one of the rudest subjects she's ever interviewed. She said this about him. Within the first 4 minutes of the documentary, Chevy just straight up tell her, "You're not bright enough to figure me out. You're not smart enough." And she's kind of taken aback. Like, you can hear me like, whoa. And that's your documentary subject.
Yeah.
So like some documentaries, he would say that, he would have that moment, and then the documentarian might put together a clip of, oh, this is him just being a jerk. But she does a good job of not doing that. She presents these little moments to people, but then she'll go back and tell you like, oh, here's his childhood. And this was rough, right? Like, he's got these things. And I just think it does a really good job of presenting someone who's just a very unique strange guy. So yeah, we're going to talk about this documentary.
So he wasn't wrong, though.
About what? Oh, about not bright enough to figure him out?
I think that's us with anyone. Like,
Yeah.
Ultimately, Chevy Chase is going to be the only one that really knows why and how Chevy does what Chevy does. Watching this from the couple jobs I do have's perspective, I'm like, oh, I would have dove in deeper here, or I would have done this. And so I'm intrigued to see where you all land. So
Yeah. So I do have a specific few points like I would like us to talk about a little bit about. Let's start with the basics first. I told you it was directed by Marina Zenovich. She's the same filmmaker that was behind documentaries on Robin Williams, Richard Pryor, Roman Polanski, Lance Armstrong.
She's good.
Yeah, some tricky individuals of like Lance Armstrong especially makes me think, ooh, someone who in his lifetime was revered, but now also kind of despised.
Roman Polanski, very despised.
Same. So she's drawn to these kind of complicated, politically incorrect figures. Interviews include like the people on this documentary. You got Dan Aykroyd, Lorne Michaels, Martin Short, Beverly D'Angelo, Goldie Hawn, who I was so happy to see her on this. Ryan Reynolds, kind of weirdly, is just in this documentary. Kevin Smith and Chevy's family, which again I thought was great too, because they're able to balance this. And any of the clips, I thought it was really interesting to watch how loving he is with his daughters, and the daughters, what they have to say about him. Because I think sometimes, for all of us, we kind of put on a little mask when we leave our houses, and who we really are comes out at home. Like my kids could tell you who I really am. And so I thought that was interesting as well. Who's not in it is pretty interesting too. Nobody from the Community cast participated except for director Jay Chandrasekhar, who he directs some episodes.
That's the guy from Super Troopers.
It is.
That's
it is that
how
guy.
I knew him.
Steve Martin declined, so you can make of that what you will. I didn't know Steve Martin was approached but also declined. So the arc of the documentary kind of traces Chevy's life roughly through his childhood, through college and his early comedy years, his Saturday Night Live breakout, into movie stardom, and then there was a decline where, the talk show disaster, then the revival through Community, and to now where he's an old man who's kind of like dealing with the tail end of his life. And so I think where I would like to start with is there is this thing that Chevy presents during especially the Community section where he's facing kind of the disagreements he has with them. And I want to talk about like generational disconnects. Chevy Chase says, they were too young to be aware of my work. He said something racist, which he claims was a joke to be funny. They didn't take it that way. And then he references Richard Pryor and his friendship with Richard Pryor. Then they showed that skit that he did with Richard Pryor that I'm just shocked was on television once upon a time. Like, that's nuts. What did you think of that clip? Did you remember any of that?
Yeah. I thought it's comedy.
Yeah, it was. Older people like us, I was like, that's hilarious. But also, they would never now.
Yeah, not now, but that's part of the problem. I think the generational disconnect of this idea that we somehow are making the world a better place is coming back on us now, because we're not addressing things that we know that are going on. And comedy has a way of using laughter to address things that are going on. That's where Chevy Chase comes from. There's a generation now that has a bunch of stuff that's on the table, off the table, and you're trying to figure out each moment what's on the table, what's off the table, but stuff is going on, and in comedy, you're supposed to address it. So I get where Chevy's coming from. He's just as tone deaf.
Yeah.
Or he doesn't care. I would like to say tone deaf. He just doesn't care. When I'm working with kids in the church that are generationally younger than me, I realize that the world is not the same. So when I do my sermon series prep, and I'm working with these 19-year and 20-year-olds, we're talking about a text together, I realize that it's just not the same world. And I just don't think he cares. He's that grumpy old man. And we all have these dudes in our family. They get a pass. They feel like their good deeds, that's an old school philosophy, far outweigh whatever you got a problem with today. And you give them a pass at Thanksgiving. You give them a pass at the barbecue, because where would we be without this uncle, right? But he probably shouldn't be saying that about people's wives. He probably shouldn't be doing this. He probably shouldn't be. We all have that family member. At least I have several of them. They can just say whatever they want. It's kind of like this. When I was a kid, I couldn't wait to become an adult, because where I grew up in an environment where the adults told the kids what to do. And then in our family, the adults got to go to the adults ate before us. That's crazy, right? And then when I became an adult, all that changed. So I'm still at the back of the line. Like, when do I get to go to the front of the line? And so I think Chevy's one of them dudes, like, I've waited my whole life to be the grandpa that could just sit in a rocking chair and tell you how it is. And now y'all are taking that from me.
Yeah.
And he had that model to him. So that's his perspective to me. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to be the grumpy old man of the newspaper. Doggone kids don't know nothing. But you got a grandpa that does this every day. It's just not on camera.
Yeah.
I get that, by the way, because Gen X, I mean, that's the essence of Gen
Absolutely.
X, right? Is we waited for our time, and now it's like millennials are trying to jump up and take the time. Like, whoa.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's already happened.
Absolutely, yes.
We were patient.
I accept it. But that's where I got the idea from. I'm like, wait a minute, I feel like I'm skipped. But Chevy is saying, in a sense, is like he had probably a great grandpa or grandpa that he knew that would tell him, I don't like the direction this world is going, and let me tell you why. And it was probably bigoted information, right? It's probably information that's rooted in stuff that's not good, right? And now it's his turn. He's like, what do you mean I can't say this?
Well, it's bigoted, but I think it's important to remember it's also a product of the context and time that they grew up and lived in. Like that doesn't mean we're trying to. This annoys me about our current day and age. It doesn't mean we're trying to say it was right and okay.
No,
it's just trying to say, okay, we can all say that was not something they should have said, while also saying we don't have to condemn them for all judgment forever either.
Amen. Yes. I think that's the hardest thing when I get frustrated about with that conversation is like, I'm going to consider where the person I'm going to consider the context. And we live in this day and age now where they're like, and I just don't believe that I'm such a good person. I'm so good, inherently such a good person, that if the role wasn't reversed, and I had the opportunity to have a slave, that I'm such a good person that I'd be on the right side. I just think that that's in me somewhere. And I was watching a documentary of a Jewish guy who's in concentration camp. When they took that guy who was the most responsible, he's the only German to be tried in Israel for the crimes. The only one. There's only one guy. And when he saw the dude that was gassing everybody, he fainted. And Mike Wallace from like 60 Minutes, like interviewed him like, did you faint because you were scared? He's like, no, it just hit me in that moment. I saw him in normal clothes. Like, if I would have came up the same way he came up, if I would have lived the life he lived, I would be him. While we're addressing all of these things that are wrong, we've got to remember it's in us. I don't care if it's Biden or Trump, it's in you.
Yeah.
And you've got to, while you're addressing, speaking truth to power, whatever you want to call it, not being on the wrong side of history, you got to understand that it's in you to be on the wrong side of history. And so while we're addressing the Chevy Chases, I just want to keep that in my mind while I'm talking about the man. Like, he's a complicated dude just like all of us.
And with the show that this incident happened on, now that we are 15, 20 years removed from it, it has aged poorly. Especially as you hear more and more stories come out, like Donald Glover say, I really wanted my character to mature, but they kept him young and dumb the whole time.
Yeah.
And Chevy Chase saying, I really didn't want my character to be a super racist. I just wanted like casual things to happen that may be iffy at times. But no, they made him like extremely racist.
Yeah.
That show, which was very meta and was all about pointing out like, oh, these things are uncouth or improper. Now it's looking back, you're like, ooh, maybe it's not just these people. Maybe it is us as a whole. We still struggle with this.
Absolutely.
Even when we are well aware of the problem, we still do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's spot on.
Well, it's the downfall of a lot of sitcoms, right? Is you're faced with a choice at some point. So you start off, even if something funny like Friends, let's say Friends.
Yeah.
It's funny. But then you're faced with this choice of, in order to keep making it funny, do you just keep them going, doing more extreme things of the same dumb stuff they've always done, more extreme versions of the characters?
Pivot.
Because that's how you can only get them more exaggerated. Or do you start building nuance into the characters so they can still be funny but also be kind of human, and that becomes more interesting? Most sitcoms, the reason they trail off the longer they go is because they choose these extreme, simple versions. And that's a good reminder. That is that whole section where Chevy, I believe it's one of Chevy's daughters, says that he had asked Dan Harmon several times, can we not make my character so bigoted? And they just made him more bigoted as the series went on. So Chevy talks about his relationship with the community cast in a frame of reference of, they just don't understand who I am. And there's this generational disconnect in something in that, which is Chevy is coming from this place where he says, judge me by my body of work. Judge me by something I did 30 years ago, where I think sometimes the younger generation is like, no, I'm going to judge you by what you're doing right now, judging in the presence. And this might be a problem of the older generation, where the older generation's a little bit more at fault, where we as older men, DJ, than Cody, might tend to say, well, this is our turn and we don't know any better. We might say we don't know any better, or this is how we've always done it, instead of trying to listen to someone who's trying to say, this makes me feel a certain way. And do you want to make me feel a certain way?
Yeah, I would listen. You got to listen.
Yeah.
You listening to them doesn't water down your contribution, and them not knowing it doesn't water down your contribution. And everybody should take on whatever they're taking on within the will of God, with the understanding that there's probably an expiration date on my contribution. Elvis was the template, as Bill Burr says. We saw him become too big, get in the onesie jumpsuit on the stage in Vegas doing the karate, right? It's like there comes a point where you have to find a different role, mentor somebody. You just got to have it in the pressure of saying, into my 90s, I want the spotlight on me. You're putting yourself in a tough spot to me as an entertainer. I think the best one was Betty White was probably the best at taking on roles where she's in and out of the picture like that, and you kind of want more of her, but she's gone. Yeah. She did a good job of doing that. You never got a whole lot of her. In the later stage of her career, she was gorgeous, beautiful, front stage person when she first started, when it was black and white.
Hung
right?
with Sinatra.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then as she got older, she'd pick roles where you wanted more of her, and you had to wait to the next movie to get her, right? And I think some of these guys, I think it'd be harder for a man because of egos for men. It's like, you can back off, man. It don't have to be about you now, LeBron. Like, be the sixth man. But we can't imagine that world like that, right?
That's not a world I want to live in.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Like, I can't imagine LeBron being a sixth man, but he'd be sixth man of the year if he was.
Yes.
He would be.
Right?
Absolutely, yeah.
And if he went to a team that was needed a sixth man, they would definitely win a championship. Yeah. And so it's like, that's hard for especially men to me to wrap their minds around. I just think that you got to get out the way, bro.
How often does the older generation assume that the next generation should just know our context?
Your mental health demands that you know from whence you're coming from. How can you be in comedy and not know who? It's a shame on you, no doubt about it. But because of technology today, I'm not going to charge that sin against them, just because the technology makes you think about now and only now. Mm-hmm. And in a time where you can have the ability to know all the great comedians of all time in one day, sitting at home from a television screen, no research needed. YouTube will break it down for you. They don't even do that. How are you going to be a comedian and not know the main cast of Saturday Night Live? That baffles me. How you would go into that field and not know. People make fun of LeBron all the time, but LeBron understands Madison Square Garden. He understands who the greats are, right? Like in sports, how would you play baseball and not have any point of Babe Ruth? Babe Ruth coming to the room, you're just like, get out of the way, old man, I got this. It's like, whoa, bro. And I consider him to be a comedic genius like that. He's on that list of guys who can just, especially when it comes to slapstick comedy, it's like he's on the guys on the list. And for them not to know who he is, that does baffle me. But The objection that I have from my own heart is I've never dealt with the monster called the internet and social media at the age that these kids are dealing with that monster. So who am I to tell you, shame on you, when I don't, this world that we're living in is nowhere near like the world I was living in when I was a kid. And I'm young.
I still haven't watched K-pop Demon Hunter.
Shame on you, sir.
Exactly.
Go find yourself.
It's interesting you said that, because let's talk about the Saturday Night Live thing for a second. So they have their big 50th anniversary special. Chevy is there. He's in the audience, but he was expecting to have some sort of role in it. He's told there'd be bits for him, and then at the last minute, they kind of pull him. And Lorne Michaels has hinted that someone cautioned that Chevy, quote, wasn't as focused. And so here's an 82-year-old man who... arguably the first true star of SNL. Arguably, as the documentary says, the reason Saturday Night Live blows up.
Yeah, I agree.
He's the first crossover guy that makes it get big, and he's sitting in the crowd watching Bill Murray do Weekend Update.
That's ridiculous.
Which is the desk Chevy built, essentially, in so many ways. So there's real pain there, but you have a younger generation of producers and showrunners looking at his reputation and making this decision that the risk wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
Where I would argue there was no risk at all.
Yeah, like what's he gonna do? And most of that stuff is on a delay, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not like it's live.
Yeah.
And like he has a reputation.
Yeah.
You can say we were trying to give him a good send off. Mm-hmm. He chose to do whatever Chevy was going to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
How much of it though is those younger generation people who are maybe in leadership positions just don't like him?
Yeah.
How often do we let decisions involving other people leave the realm of what I would say black and white X's and O's?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And go into the realm of I'm going to pretend I'm not making an emotional decision, but I'm absolutely making an emotional decision. I just don't like that guy.
So I feel like that could have been the case, except we have so much proof that Lorne Michaels is so hands-on in everything that like
That's
he
true.
ain't old or he ain't young. I mean, he's old.
Yeah.
We
That's
was there
true.
with Chevy at the very beginning.
He's kind of the Vince McMahon of the thing.
Yes. And so like if he really wanted Chevy to have a moment.
That's true.
And like, yeah, Chevy has had health issues and he's older. His focus might literally not be there. He has a history of saying troubled things. That might not be the best, but if you give him a script to read off at the Weekend Update where he says, I'm Chevy Chase and you're not, like just randomly, hey, everyone laughs.
Yeah.
We relive a moment from the original show. Instead, you don't get it. You get Bill Murray, which I like Bill Murray, but that's not Bill Murray's spot.
Yeah.
Like Bill Murray could be used in so many ways.
Absolutely.
You wonder how many times though we got close to not getting these like real icons in entertainment or any realm for that matter. Because there's a point where Lorne says in the documentary, I really wanted Chevy to just be in the writer's room. And he's the one who pushes real hard to be in front of the camera. Like if it was up to Lorne, Chevy Chase would have never been a thing.
And I would argue now that's where Chevy would be most effective. I feel like he should be on these shows helping these writers.
Well, with his past, with his scars, he's the kind of guy who could have wrote something brilliant.
Yeah.
Like one of those things we celebrate as like, I laughed, I cried,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
like one of those things. Because he's got all that in him. And yet it's all kind of tainted by the cost of celebrity.
Yeah, to have your life put on camera and everything you say be judged as good or bad. Oh boy.
Yeah. He strikes me as a dude who at some point they turned the cameras off and he didn't turn off whatever he was in front of the cameras. Like the real guy was gone.
Kind of like Ric Flair.
Yes,
I feel
exactly.
That way about Ric Flair.
Kayfabe. He was from that point on. He's kayfabe Chevy Chase. Anything else to add to that before we move on to a new topic?
No.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about is the kind of the cost of brilliance, the cost of genius. There's something Dan Aykroyd says in this documentary.
Dan.
Yes.
Where, by the way, he brings some of the greatest insight in the
Yes.
doc.
He made one of the worst Chevy Chase movies. Nothing but trouble. But Digital Underground's in
That's
it.
right. That's that all around the world. Same song is one of the best songs ever.
Yes.
Dan Aykroyd is an enigma wrapped in a riddle,
Mystery. Yeah,
wrapped in a
buddy.
mystery.
Yeah,
Because that
buddy.
dude, I could say, that dude has made some of the worst movies of the having that crowd in, and also some of the best.
Yeah.
He's been in some of the best ones. But he says this thing rather early on. He's like, about meeting Chevy. I could see right away that this guy was simultaneously extremely talented and very dangerous. And so,
What do you think he meant by dangerous? Because I was wondering, like, what did he mean when he said that?
well, I think he means that you can't control him.
Oh, gotcha.
So in the entertainment, anywhere in the entertainment industry,
Kind of Kanye.
yeah, exactly like Kanye.
Yeah.
I do think there are people that would argue that Kanye is not brilliant because they just don't like Kanye. Again,
Yeah.
emotional
Yeah,
judgment
but I
instead
think
of
he's brilliant.
Kanye's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely.
By all
Yeah.
metrics.
Yeah, yeah.
But
absolutely.
he's also mentally
Yeah,
unstable.
loose cannon.
And you can't control him.
Yeah, no.
And I think that's what Dan Aykroyd means is like,
He got banned by a whole country, dog. That's like, you got banned by a whole country? You know how hard that would be to be a country, to tell an African American? Like, you know how much conversation is going on? How does this make us look to say he can't come to the country?
I think before Kanye, I would have said that seems hard.
Yeah.
But now I'm like,
Yeah, no,
yep,
no.
it checks out.
Yeah, I mean, nobody got mad. Nobody got mad.
And so Chevy Chase, for a lot of different reasons and different outcomes, because I'm going to compare him to Kanye here, even though they present differently.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Chevy Chase, like Kanye, is genuinely freakishly talented. He basically invented a new kind of comedy persona on
Yeah.
SNL. He's the cool, detached, handsome guy who's also hilarious and has mastered pratfalls
Yeah.
of all things.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Like, it's such a weird combination.
As a 6'4" guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, someone who's seems pretty coordinated. Like, you see him playing tennis and he's playing sports. He can golf, like all these things. It's wild. But he can do physical comedy at an elite level. He's a gifted musician.
Yeah, perfect tone.
Like, he literally
Perfect pitch.
He turned down Steely Dan. He's like,
Yeah.
get a better drummer.
Yeah.
They wanted him.
Yeah, yeah.
His IQ tested extremely high as a kid, but got terrible grades. And yet all of that talent coexists with and may have fueled an almost pathological inability to treat people well. Like, it all mashes together. And so I basically want to talk about, like, in anything where someone is in our culture is known, famous, at the top of their game, they're a brilliant person. They often get passes on bad behavior.
On the female side, you're called a diva, and it's actually
Yes.
acceptable behavior.
Yes. And so this doc raises these questions without really answering it, which is this: at what point does the art stop excusing the artist? We figured that out with Kanye, I think.
Well, even in the Jordan documentary, you're kind of asking that question. Like,
Yes.
he got him to the means, but man, the way you treat these people to get them there, does that really does winning 6 championships really justify 14 people having trauma behind you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, Michael Jordan's a great example, and we've talked about him before on the pod, where you can make the case that arguably he's the greatest basketball player of all time, but he literally had to implode all the relationship in his life to do it.
And that's where I changed my mind on it. I changed my mind in the LeBron-Michael Jordan debate just for that reason.
Oh, this is a declaration.
Yeah, I changed
I
my mind.
wasn't ready for this.
Yeah, I changed my mind just because until I hear more about LeBron's career, I'm now leaving it in suspension. LeBron has a lot of power. There's going to be a day where people are going to feel freely to talk about him. And that's when I'm going to make this decision, because it's like the means, when you hear what Jordan, you're like, man, I don't know if any of us would survive that kind of scrutiny. So this, back to Chevy Chase, it's like, even in my field, it's a thing where a pastor can treat you a certain type of way, and because of the success of the church, it's okay. And I'm not talking about these one-offs that somebody's having a bad day and you walk up to them, they don't.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a pattern of behavior where a person is legitimately hurting people daily, but because they're good at this over here, we're going to give them a pass.
So with Chevy Chase, there's a point where his career might be close-ish to how we would personify MJ. But when you're at the Terrell Owens level, where like you're not winning and things start to kind of go down, it's really easy to just shove you off.
Absolutely, yeah.
And like
That's a great example, yeah.
Owens, T.O. was one of the top 5 wide receivers I've ever seen in my life, and yet they're like, you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, my dad used to say you can't make demands until you're in demand.
Yeah.
And as long as Chevy's in demand, you got to put up with this side of him that maybe you don't want to put up with.
When everything's going well, we can look past your idiosyncrasies. We'll call them idiosyncrasies.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But when things start going bad, your dude's being the same, and all of a sudden, no, these aren't insecurities.
Yeah.
This is a severe behavioral disorder.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, there is something to that. And again, you're throwing in that human equivalent because humans are in charge of ratings and because humans are in charge of advertising dollars. And the goal of a fan is to get what they want. And if you keep giving fans what they want, they don't. We all like. Have you ever had somebody tell you about somebody and you didn't know them that way? So you almost don't care about the behavior. But then when it happens to you, somebody should do something. Like, we told you that, but you said you didn't care because you were getting something else. And so it's like fans, until you hurt the fans, and that's who pays everybody's checks, it's like they will put up with a lot. And how do we know it's true? That I still say that. I still struggle with what's true when I hear some of these reports. It's like, how do I know that what the people are saying on this cast that really went down that way?
Right.
And so I think fans, until you can really demonstrate it to a fan, they're going to keep supporting that. I mean, do you still listen to R. Kelly? Do you still listen to Michael Jackson? Like, who do I still buy it? Do I not buy it? You know, how do fans know when to not support? So when you're talking about fandom, you know, Chevy he's getting mail from people.
Yeah. Well, I was just about to say that in the documentary, they show interactions between him and just random people that come up to him, and he's endearing. He's kind to them. He'll sign stuff. He'll
even
take
in the P. Diddy
them.
documentary, you see that.
He's making jokes with the florist guy.
Yeah, even in the P. Diddy documentary, same thing. He's like hugging him. He gets in the car and he's like, "Give me some hand sanitizer." You know, he kind of give me some hands. These people are disgusting. All these people hugging on me. These disgusting people. But to them, without that documentary, you're like, "Oh my gosh, he took a picture with me. He signed my stuff."
The irony of P. Diddy needing hand sanitizer for touching other people, not the other way around.
Yes, right. It's like, yeah, absolutely.
So with some of Chevy Chase's behavior, interactions, the part that I wish the documentary would have gone even more into, but like you would have had a documentary series or a 3-hour documentary, like his childhood, because within it, you get a couple of adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, as the kids call them.
Yes.
Divorced family. There is a history of substance use within the family. There's also physical abuse towards Chevy. And so that is going to impact how he interacts with people. But also, I think because of not having that balance of family, I think that pushes him to excel in one area because that gets him attention. It feeds what he feels like he's missing, and that causes him to maybe excel where like some of his peers, they may need to go off to college, join a comedy troupe forever, and then maybe make it to something like SNL by the time they're like 35, where it's just like pretty natural for him. And I feel that there's a long list of celebrities where you're like, oh, their childhood, it's rough, it's ugly, there's these awful things that happen during it. And I think that because there aren't these more well-balanced things happening within their lives, it is you either go this way or you completely fall off the wagon and you go down a dark path. Instead, they're kind of delaying it with their celebrity, and then it blows up.
Yeah. Well, there's an interesting moment in this documentary where the director, the interviewer, asks him straight up about the last time he saw his mom and his stepdad. Like, what was the moment, the last time you saw them? And he like stares blankly for a minute, and then he swats his head at an invisible bug and acts like he's like just disconnected from reality for a moment. And then he's like, what? Huh? And it's like this moment of like, oh. they segued into a great thing where his daughter says something about he uses his comedy as a shield, as a defense against these awful things he may have lived through. And so
I do too.
Yeah, deflecting.
Yeah. And so Cody, the trauma to comedy pipeline here, and really the trauma to brilliance pipeline.
Yeah, there's no way around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Like on some level, there's a thing about humanity where the more scars you have, the more interesting and brilliant you can almost be sometimes. But what comes with that, especially from the Hollywood sense, we see it in child actors all the time, is they spend so much time riding the gravy train and using the talent. But then like maybe someone like Kanye fits into this too, is no one around you cares enough about you to try and also help you develop in any way. There's no one around you to try and steward your talent.
Kanye ensures that there's nobody around him
now, but at a time when he wasn't as big, when people were just riding the gravy train, there might have been.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
I feel like because they cut the gravy, it's like I'm gonna take my ball and go home.
Yeah,
that threat, that's the manipulation of the sociopath. Is they're super manipulative. You can call them wounded healers, harmed healers, charismatic individuals. And when my definition of charismatic is somebody who can make somebody feel good. They can leverage a talent to help people feel better. And we love them because either through their music, through their preaching, through their acting, they have some type of ability to make me feel better in a certain moment. And I think for me, I'm going to say it again, it gets me an email every time I do this show with y'all. I get an email from somebody who doesn't like that I say this. But a charismatic individual is not always an extrovert. It's a person who they can leverage their talent or their calling to make people feel better. And it's a great, cool thing. But if they don't have some type of check in their life, somebody that can speak and share with them honestly and candor, and you can't do anything to them, you will turn around and you hurt more than you do good. I think when you're a wounded healer, when you're a person, you're a harmed healer, you have some ability. So a charismatic individual can say it, and then you can say it. Nobody's going to listen to you. But this person who knows less than you, whatever, but they have this gift of charisma. They can make people feel better. Mm-hmm. And God uses these people all the time, whether they're a believer or a non-believer. God uses these people all the time. There's a reason why you go to a Beyonce concert and she can pause in the middle of it and do this moment of, I've been on this tour going up and down these highways and I know you guys, and everybody starts clapping and crying and you feel better. It's the strangest thing. If you take their words and put it on paper, you're like, she didn't say. There are times I watch a Will Smith video. He doesn't say anything, but he's making people feel better. And he slaps Chris Rock, right? And everybody's like, what? He's a harmed healer. We have to remember that about all of them. Yeah. Whether they're going to have people in their life or not, it's your responsibility as a healthy human to go, I'm not going to worship another person. You see what I'm saying? So it's our responsibility, not just to protect ourselves, but to be healthy enough to go, we all have things that we're working on. Yeah. And I just think sometimes we take people who can make us feel better and we turn them into like a drug. And as long as you make me feel better, I'll keep coming back. And it's like, no, that's not it. I
do think it's important, like, even though that this documentary is about Chevy Chase and it takes place in the Hollywood kind of frame of reference, what you just said is important. This happens in every kind of facet and area of life. It affects us in the church as well.
Absolutely.
Like, we celebrate the preacher who can pack the room, but then we don't even ask how he treats his family.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So we're willing to make these sacrifices on character as long as you're professionally giving us something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And I think he just falls, in a sense, he's being cheated. Like, I have you guys in my life, you're cheating yourself when you don't let somebody in. They can go, are you okay?
Yeah.
Actually, at the end, he's cheating himself. So now when a hard question comes, you have to swat flies and act silly. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I'll let you talk, but can I add on to that real quick? There's a really interesting thing there, what you just said. There's this random youngish guy he plays chess with that brings him the fan mail.
Yeah.
Did you notice this dude is like a sycophant?
Yes.
He's not a real friend.
No, yes.
He's just buttering him up.
Yes, he's paid.
That was wild.
But that's what you said. Dennis Rodman's in the same boat.
Yeah. Go ahead, Cody.
I was going to say that you get it within like the 1990s segment where they're talking about like there's days and weeks that he can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
That he is home alone, depressed, and like the kids really don't fully understand it, but the mom is having like a gradual healthy dialogue with him about dad and like his feelings. And so as a defense mechanism, you might say, I don't need people in my life, and you put up these walls and you make crude jokes to push them out. But then when you get deeper into the cycle of depression, it's really hard to get yourself out without having people in your life.
Yeah.
And now it's a good thing he still has his family, and by all accounts, they love him.
Yeah.
And that's wonderful, but we can't go through life alone.
That's a great segue into like the next topic, because I love that you pointed out the way his family talks about him. The old home videos you see of him and his daughters, I thought were great. There's even moments where he has moments of humility. There are just these little windows into the real him sometimes, I think, not the defense he's putting up. So there was a point in the doc where he's talking about the Chevy Chase talk show. And one of the writers says, he came into the room and they're getting all these bad reviews and terrible things. And he just addressed everyone and said, hey guys, this isn't your fault. This is me. I don't know what I'm doing. You guys are doing great.
Yeah.
And I just thought, wow.
And he also says, like, I don't know how people like Letterman do this night in, night out for 30 years. Like, that wasn't me.
Because you look at Chevy Chase and you think, well, this is just a dude who's high on fame. Like, no, he's clearly humble at points.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's humility there.
Yeah.
And I think what I want to talk about next is just the price of fame in general. Is Chevy does not arrive at fame as a healthy person. He arrives as a traumatized person with a drug habit, a genius IQ, and an absolute inability to be vulnerable at all. Fame is not what broke him. It amplifies his brokenness.
Most of the time it does that.
And so he's got the money, the access, the sycophants, which we talked about, and of course the drugs, and it all just turns up the volume on these weird patterns he has in his brokenness. What happens when we're broken and yet all of a sudden we're famous? Like,
if we arrive broken, we assume what got us here must have been good enough, and so we are not going to change anything because
they're not changing. He's not growing.
Literally, I'm good. I literally launched Saturday Night Live almost single-handedly. The weekend news update ratings were the thing that got the ratings up halfway through the show every week. That's all him. The reason they made it to season 2, it's all Chevy Chase. We like to think that we are being good enough.
I don't believe that man was built for this type of fame. And I'm not trying to bring the Bible into it, but the Bible says, not to us, but to your name be the glory. I don't think any human being can handle this type of fame. I just don't think we're built for it. I just don't. I think there's only one that's built for that. I think that's a territory that you don't need to get to. And I just think that it's good for you to be able to go to upper Northwest and nobody knows who you are.
Yeah, it's almost like the snake eating its own tail.
Absolutely.
But it's like your ego starts eating
Absolutely.
yourself
Yeah,
in a way.
absolutely, yeah.
And like I don't want to turn this into like a political discussion, but guys like Donald Trump, a guy who's already famous before he gets into this political realm, now he's the leader of the free world.
Yeah.
We call the president of the United States that in the past.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
He's the most powerful man
Still
in the world.
call him that, yeah.
And like, I think sometimes it's hard for me to look at him now as a president and some of the wildish things he'll say, and reconcile that with just kind of like the rich narcissistic guy who used to be on Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous, where, hey, that guy seems pompous, but okay. Yeah, but of course, when a guy who already is famous and thinks highly of himself now ascends to that position, do you have any chance?
Yeah, you're confirming and affirming what I've already thought about myself, and it just creates. It's like when I was a kid, we read this book called The Rock Monster, and people would throw rocks at him. He would just eat them and get bigger, and that's what essentially is what you do to a person that gets to this place. Like even when you throw rocks at them, they just eat it and they just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So you throwing rocks at them don't help. It only enlarges their ego. that tendency, that narcissistic, or however you want to say it, it's like fame, like you said, just puts it on steroids. And I just don't think we're healthy. I think I have so much respect for dudes that just disappear and go, you know what? I rose to a level of fame, and it's time for me to be human.
The celebrities, like, I think of Ryan Gosling, like, you know that he's married and you know his wife was also a famous actress, but you don't know anything about him. Like, he's just not around until he makes a movie, does a little press junket tour, and then he disappears again. And it's like, where did you go, Ryan?
Yeah, I think you'd have to do something like that to go somewhere to arrive to a level of fame where you're known now. Now you can be known everywhere. And we saw this. I'm going back to the Elvis years. Ali was coming up at that time. When we started coming, the Beatles, we started coming to that point where in history where you can be known everywhere. Not Johnny Cash. None of these stories end very well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, and I think that's one of the saddest parts of this documentary is, again, it's not something explicitly stated by the documentary, but if you're watching the documentary, you see this, which is Chevy Chase is kind of proof that you can be known by millions of people, but still be kind of fundamentally unknown, maybe even to yourself. Like, I don't even think Chevy knows who he is anymore. And that's evidenced by he's trying to be like funny still as this old man who's kind of out of touch, and he's not.
It's not funny.
It's landing very badly, and he's still trying to get the laugh. He's still performing, but it doesn't work. And you realize he's only doing it because he doesn't know how to connect with people in any other way. And it just comes off as being really sad.
And how do you do that in comedy? You go and do the clubs, and you find out real quick. That's why Eddie Murphy says he doesn't do as much as he used to. He's like, because if I'm not on that stage going, I don't know how do I know I'm going to be funny. That's the cool thing about comedy to this day is you've got to go to the clubs and you got to go in front of people and you got to hear them go, boo, ew, what's this, and you go to the comedy store and you find out, oh man, I have lost my touch. I'm disconnected from humanity. I know that we shouldn't talk about it, but I am going to say it. In one of Ellen's last stand-ups, she makes fun of how rich she got and how famous she got. And the whole thing is her making fun of herself. This is before her show went off. The whole thing on Netflix is her making fun of herself because she's complaining about her gardener. She's complaining about her people, her butlers and all these different people. And she's making fun of herself in a sense because what else is there for her to make comedy about? Yeah. She lives a whole different existence than everybody that loves her. And if you're doing comedy like that and you no longer relate to having to take your kids to school, you no longer relate to a real fight a real fight over something with your wife, it's like you're not going to relate to your audience anymore. So if you don't have writers writing the stuff for you that are living that life, you're in trouble, bro.
Well, it brings up an interesting point that fame is a natural thing that disconnects you from the rest of humanity. Because all of a sudden, you can't just go out like you used to do. You can't be around real people. I say that one dude Chevy's hanging with is a sycophant. That's not Chevy's fault. That's the only people that are going to be around him now. And so that's a very interesting thing psychologically speaking is because psychologically speaking, Cody, we know what happens when humans are disconnected.
It's not good. Although I will say, I do want to go to one of these Christmas vacation showings.
Well, that was probably at a con.
Oh, no, they do a tour.
Oh, they did an actual tour.
So Val Kilmer did this as well towards the end of his life. He would go to like tombstone showings and would be invited, and he would either talk or he would sign things after his cancer diagnosis and would connect with fans. I think this is maybe the healthiest thing fame-wise Chevy Chase is shown to do during the whole documentary is like, oh, I get to go out, I get to talk about the making of this, I get to tell funny jokes, and then I'll sign some things for people and take pictures with them. It actually brings them back into relationship and connectivity, even though like that movie is now 40 years old and he hasn't made anything that anyone remembers since Community probably. And so, yeah.
It's 40?
Yeah, dude.
Oh no.
Or older.
I know,
I'm
man.
not looking to see the official date. You don't want to know
It's
it.
a bummer. It's a bummer. It might be closer to 35. It's
No.
88, right?
No.
88, 89.
Well, I'm telling you, if I'm 37 and I was born in 89.
Christmas
so-
vacation, right? Is
Yeah.
that, well, I don't know. Maybe you're right. I just don't want to know.
Wowzers.
Okay, let's kind of swing it into our final discussion here. What do we do with someone like Chevy Chase? So the doc doesn't really answer anything conclusive. They're just like presenting him. And that's what makes the documentary very interesting to me. He's not fully a villain, but he's not the victim either. He's a deeply damaged person who's done extraordinary things and terrible things, often in the same day. But the director and the documentary's real question throughout the film is, how do we hold on to that with people? I'm assuming we know people like this, people who are very talented, but their social skills, maybe because they've been traumatized, maybe for whatever reasons, because they haven't had to deal with it because they were gifted. Like, how do we hold all this?
So I feel within the business world, it's not unheard of knowing someone that gets passed over time and time again because they're difficult to work with, or they say things that are not politically correct, and that they get passed for the promotion. But you know they have all the talent in the world, but you know this is probably where they're going to thrive the longest. Like, you might be able to launch to the moon, but burn out before you actually land there with this person. I do think that you have to keep in perspective, there really isn't a whole lot between Chevy Chase and I, except for this guy was super famous and did some ridiculous things where if I have a temper tantrum, only my wife's going to know this. So
I just need video footage. I just want video footage.
And you might very well get fired and blackballed from your profession of choice, though, too. There's
Yes.
real repercussions that you face if you're not, famous.
depends on where you're doing things.
Right. So, DJ, here's a question I'd like to ask you, because we kind of live in a time where, at least in my lifetime, nobody wants to offer grace. Like, everybody is like, I want to hold these people accountable forever. So much so that we dig into people's old tweets
Yeah.
from like the start of the internet.
Yeah.
And we want to hold them accountable.
Yeah.
How do we have compassion for someone's trauma, but still hold them accountable for harm they may have caused? Like, how can we balance that better?
But we figured that out. We got to write a book and go on tour. Like, that's a great.
We're going to be famous and causing harm ourselves.
I love to journal. I'm weird. I love it. I have a journal just for COVID. And I just looked at it last night before I went to bed. I was just messing around. I was like, oh, here's my COVID journal. I kept it just during COVID. I wouldn't keep it. And then at the very end of COVID, not the end of it, but when we finally got over COVID, I wrote things I learned from COVID. And I was like, we're in trouble because context doesn't matter. So I feel like what happens is the people that were directly impacted by somebody's behavior have less say than the people who are the furthest away. And it's like, if the people that were directly impacted by the behavior go, hey, we've talked, we've met, we're fine, they apologize, they did this, and we're on the pathway to this. I don't understand why the people that are the furthest away from it can't accept that. It's like, no, we're demanding him to come out and do a press conference and write a letter that we all can feel. It's like, you're never, if somebody makes because racism is probably the biggest one now for me, that's become like the unpardonable sin. It's like, once you make a racial comment and you're a celebrity or whatever, it's like, we're going to put you on this pathway of never coming back again. You know what I'm saying? Who's the most directly impacted? Is it a national TV show, right? Like, who's the most directly impacted? And then how do those people hold them accountable? And I just think sometimes with COVID, we saw this. Like, there are classrooms where they could have social distanced. They didn't have to cancel. But we made the whole nation cancel no matter the context. And we treated every city like it was New York City, and it's not. Western Kansas only had 9 kids in some of those classrooms. They could have conducted school activities and been just fine. Yeah. But we didn't care. New York City's not going. The whole nation's not going. I think we got to get rid of that type of thinking and get back to context, local. What are the people that are directly impacted by this thing? You know, I've seen people when somebody that's popular or a pastor, somebody, they cheat on their spouse, and then the wife comes out and says some things, and this is what we're doing, and I'm believing God for this, and it's just not good enough to us. And it's like, he didn't covenant with y'all, he covenanted with her. And I'm not saying that person should get to keep their job, but if she somehow is able to work through it, who am I to be like, well, all I know is, why does your opinion even matter at this point? You can stop giving your money. You can stop watching their movies. You can stop doing that. Okay, that's one way to respond as a fan. But I think that the local context is so important to me now more than ever. I'm just amazed at the people that seems to be the furthest away from something have, okay, I'm going to say this is controversial, but it's kind of like the border thing. Like, you can be graceful to immigrants when they're not taking up your space. But as soon as these places where they weren't taking up their space start getting their space taken up, they're like, what are we going to do with all these people? Yeah, it's harder. When it's in your context, your opinion is different. And we have to be at least healthy and honest to enough to say, when you're the furthest away from it, it's easy to have solutions and opinions. Yeah. We have to be at least that honest and healthy. And I don't think we're that healthy. I won't say we're not that honest, but we're now to the point that the people the furthest away from a situation and the context can say, no, my opinion has true weight. So now you got people like even politicians speaking to things they know nothing about.
Yeah.
Because they're the furthest away from that industry. They're the furthest away from that context, but they have the biggest platform and they can use it. And I just think that's where we become super dangerous and going, whoa, 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 whoa. What's healthy in New York City may not always be healthy in Chinook, Kansas, and vice versa. You can make the case now, like the police in the small town presence in a school is way more necessary than we ever thought it would be needed, right? And maybe you could do some other things in some of these bigger cities. So I just think when we start doing this one action swoops all, I just don't think it's healthy. I think grace has to have a contextual piece to it, and it's not going to be a policy. You can't just go, well, Cody got this, so we're going to give them this. And I think that's how we have to do it because of this word fairness. And I don't think grace works like we all know grace don't work by fairness.
Y'all remember that case a few years ago where the female cop had just got off duty. She just worked a double. She was exhausted and she gets off on the wrong floor and she walks into an apartment that's not hers, but she thinks it's hers.
Yeah.
And she kills the man inside.
Yeah,
Black man. It became more charged because she was white. He was black. Bruh. And then at the trial, they find her guilty. She's going to get punished at her sentencing. Yeah. The brother of the man, who both of these men were Christian, by the way, ministers.
Yeah.
And the brother says, I forgive you, and asks the judge, can I go give her a hug?
Yeah.
And like she breaks, like the moment he embraces her, she just breaks down. Well, his family like disowned him almost after that because they were so mad. Yeah. But what was even more so, to speak to what you just said, the people farthest away from the context, all these white people online so angry about it. How could you do that? And it's like, wait, you're getting this all wrong. So forgiveness and grace is an individual choice. It has nothing to do with the group.
With the Chevy Chase thing, it's like we all say all. Like we want to give everybody a chance until it's Chevy, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think we really mean all. I think everybody's saying it. The church, the culture, diversity, all. But we don't really mean that. I wish we would just stop saying it because we have a young man that comes to our church this morning. I mean, he thinks he's whispering, but I'm talking loud, like as loud as I'm talking during the sermon. But he's acting like he's whispering, burps, takes his shoe off, digs in his toe during the sermon. I mean, it's bad stuff. Like there's all kinds of stuff going on with him. But my church said all. And I keep reminding them, that doesn't mean you get to do whatever you want, but to pretend to be frustrated when you said all, you guys, the culture keeps telling me everybody's invited. So is Chevy.
Yeah. So at times I feel like he has earned some of the criticism he gets. There's times where I'm like, oh, you all are being ageist. But I do also think that it's interesting how culture has changed within my lifetime, or perceived culture, just because it used to be that we would love to build up celebrities and then tear them down, but then wish for them to climb back up, or if they did something that self-imploded
Yeah.
them, we would love a comeback story.
Kobe Bryant.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant, Michael Vick. Like, there are several examples throughout sports where I'm like, hey,
Yeah, yeah.
Delonte West, he's
Yeah.
back on his feet.
Yeah.
And like everyone's cheering, but now like those stories, because even after we were like, Michael Vick, he served his time.
Yeah.
He admitted his wrongdoing. He is now a changed person, and he's talking to young people about this, and he's doing this. And like, we had built him back up, and then here within the past like 6 or 7 years, the culture has shifted so much that as soon as he's starting to hang out at Chiefs camp, we're like, why would you let this hardened criminal around him?
assistant coach.
Do you know what he did to dogs? And I'm like, yes,
He
yes.
served his time. He literally went to prison and paid the punishment.
And what's crazy is you don't mess with dogs, man. So the world,
It's true.
as far as pets are concerned now, the world, but in the hood, you and I both know, whole different ball game. Love for dogs for different reasons, right?
Yeah.
And the thing that the culture is going to really struggle with and struggles with, but nobody talks about this, I like talking about it, is that just that part that there are a lot of things that don't fit in the hood that the culture has to kind of just turn their head from, because you don't want to be racist, right? But you're like, that don't, you know what I'm saying? That don't fit. And this is one of those situations where there are things that happen in the hood that, you know, it's just not, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
You understand? And
Well-
you turn your head from it, and now it's time to restore the person. And I'm just interested in seeing how this is going to work, because eventually we're going to have to come back to that same conversation that we've always had to come back around to. Because who was the with Chevy Chase when he was coming to the set drunk? They say he was coming to the community set visibly drunk. And
His daughter mentions it.
Yeah. And they were kind of just like, this is annoying, but nobody's really.
Nobody
Like,
says anything.
at that point, it's like, we can say something, but you know that tension between, if you have a person that's a minority or on the protected group, however you say that, it's like, how do I have this real conversation with them, but not being,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? If you're a white person, like, how do I tell Charles, like, you're getting on my nerves, but I don't want to. That's a real kind of a,
Yeah.
Because I can pull that card on you and be like, oh, you gonna say it to somebody? You didn't say that to Michael. Like, me moving here kind of got me off of what the black Twitter does sometimes. When I moved here and started saying, okay, I get it now, in a sense of going, you can actually be saying something stupid and it be innocent. It's not always evil. There's
Yes.
a thing that we humans do, trying to be funny, trying to be cool. There are so many other things that can be happen that have nothing to do with evil.
Trying to be accepted.
Trying to be accepted. Dude, not everybody is wearing a Klan hat. I talk to Dave a lot because Dave and me have kind of the same heart because he grew up around the brothers so much. You know how we are when comedy. If you're funny, you can say whatever you want. That's an African-American world that, you know, even Chris Rock has said in his first stand-up, his first major stand-up where he talks about the N-word. I love black people, right? And that's probably super inappropriate. But because he was funny, it ain't just because he was black. In the African American community, for the most part, in generalization, if you're good, you can get away with it. You got to be good.
Yeah.
And so, and there's things that Chevy Chase got away with in Saturday Night Live years because it was funny.
Yeah.
Right? And that scene with Ashton Kutcher and Bernie Mac, when he's the white guy that comes from the black woman, he's telling the black jokes, and they were funny. And the last joke wasn't funny. They went to fighting them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a picture of how it is. And so African Americans are going to use humor like Chevy Chase does to kind of cope with, it's just another, for me, it was just another Tuesday.
Even the skit with Richard Pryor.
Yeah, man.
Even that skit. And by all accounts, Chevy says that they were friends.
Yes, buddy.
They liked doing that.
Yeah.
But that last little exchange, you can see the anger in Richard
Yeah,
Pryor's face.
man.
You can see
it's
he's
real. He wasn't
angry.
acting.
That's
he wasn't
not
acting.
fake.
He wasn't acting. And Cody talks about that a lot. There's a generation that's tired of it. There's just a generation that's like, if we can stop it, we're going to stop it. And I'm to the point where I go, I know I can't stop it, but I can deal with the pollution. I can help less pollution. I think whenever I would do good, evil's always there. I don't think I can stop it or stamp it out, but I can provide a fragrance that pushes back against the pollution.
Absolutely.
And I actually admire these young people because Dylan gets mad for me. My youth pastor, one time I did a funeral. One time a church borrowed our church for a funeral. I was totally on a Saturday there serving because this other church wanted to use our church. And they treated me like the bottom of somebody's shoe. And Dylan's face was so red and his neck was red. And I left more just like, it's kind of cool to see a young man be that mad. I couldn't even get mad because he was so mad for me that I was like, that kind of feels good to see somebody genuinely and sincerely go, this is wrong, Pastor. How are you putting up with this? Because they were saying crazy stuff to me.
I got to hold him back.
Yeah, I had to hold him back. He was so fired up. So like guys like you, like being around people that I know genuinely and sincerely care about me, I'm going to focus on that. And I'm gonna let that be the representation of humanity as opposed to 2 or 3 people that may do something next week that made me go, okay, brother.
Don't you just feel like being Gen X sometimes, though? It's like we spent so long being angry that now we're just like, you know what? I don't have enough energy in me anymore to be angry. I know that there's people who think bad things.
Yep.
This isn't shocking me, whatever, but this documentary, I love watching things like this. I love talking about things like this, where we get to see a person kind of unfiltered. Is he good? Is he bad? We don't know.
We don't know.
There's nuance here. And so this is like, we of course on this podcast talk about pop culture. That's what we talk about. But this is the heart of our podcast. This is why we go to conventions, why we engage with people, because stories matter. Because behind every veneer outside of a person, of a character, is a real person. And in that real person is this story that's usually way more complicated.
Absolutely.
Than what we think looking on the outside.
Absolutely.
So,
work on me, Lord.
And we just love looking at humans in that way because it makes you want to be more understanding of people. That's the whole goal. The acknowledgement that people are nuanced and, is like an acknowledgement of, hey, we want to get closer to you and see what makes you you. And that comes with it, this tacit acceptance of, you're not going to scare us off if you are rude or if you display some brokenness. We're gonna stick around and try to figure out who you are.
Why do we want to be famous? That's the thing that I don't understand about us.
We want to be seen.
Yeah. It's
and
like
heard.
Yeah, it's like, and how much of that do you really need?
So watch this documentary to figure out the difference between being seen and being famous. Because
Boy.
woof.
Yeah, we keep falling for it.
But Cody, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's why we want to be famous, because we think we'll be seen.
It's a Nimrod spirit.
And what happens is you're less seen.
No, boy.
Until this documentary came out, nobody knew any of this stuff about Chevy Chase except for his family.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. That's why I'm good with Chevy, because his daughters are good with him.
Yes, exactly.
I'm like, the daughter says he's okay. She live with him.
Yeah.
If you just have to work with him, how many people you work with that you go, okay, you're getting on my nerves, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't really feel sorry for the community cast.
I'm Chevy Chase and you're not. That's the documentary you watched. Make sure and follow us, subscribe, all that stuff. Tell us if you like the What's Up Doc episodes. Give Minister DJ Dangerfield his flowers on the post. Tell him how much you like him on the pod.
Don't do that.
Don't. He gets embarrassed.
He'll blush.
All right. We'll see you next time.